Good morning, everybody, and welcome to week 12, episode 12 of Pwnery's Week in Review, where we basically bring this set of stories to you from around the world, or around the country, or around your dinner table, and basically bring it around the room. It's a little short this week because everyone had crap to do, but we're going to sit there and grit our teeth, hang on, and try to get through all of this. If you're wondering who made my wicked intro, it's a drum and bass track from a guy named Scot Allen, and he mixed this with Smokey Robinson's Sunny, which is pretty badass. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? I've only got the two panelists, me and Scott right now. We had four before we went on air, but one of them just wants to be a viewer, and the other one, family emergency. And I can understand that. I can relate to that. So anyway, what's up, Scott?
Not much.
Oh, and then my dogs decided to lose their freaking minds. Alright, so I need to work a little bit on this layout still. It's not exactly where I want it. I'm trying to get everyone's avatars to fit better on the screen. Just bear with me. If you're wondering why it keeps changing, it's because I had to reinstall my operating system last weekend to try to fix an issue. There we go. I think that's a little better. Yeah, we'll go with that. Screw it. We'll go with that. We're doing it live. So anyway, I guess before you've got a thing to do too, so before I guess we do that, let's go ahead and have you do your weekend review, and then I'll follow up after. Or, yeah, your personal weekend review. That's it.
Oh, my personal weekend review. I've been on vacation the whole week, so I've been getting drunk and staying up late.
Man. I've been working since I was 14 years old, and I have never officially taken a vacation, ever. When I was younger, and I was a little more rambunctious and mouthy, I know that sounds funny, but I would just do things between jobs. So, like, if I lost a job or if I quit one, then I would turn around and say, I think I'll wait a couple of weeks and ride this out and go do a couple of things and knock them off my list. So that's usually when I would take trips, but trips got expensive, as did the cost of living, as did just about everything else in life. So I couldn't do that anymore. So I've been working at my current place this is the 18th year. Still haven't taken a vacation because when you work for the Chinese, that's an unheard of concept. It's really bizarre. But, I mean, what else you got going on? I know you sent something back.
Yep. Yeah, I sent a misidentified rifle back because it wasn't what was advertised.
Mm-hmm. Did it get delivered?
Yeah, it's there. They got it.
So how long do you think this guy's going to sit on it before he actually gives you your credit?
I should have a check by the end of next week.
He's going to write you a check?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I know, it's a pain in the fucking balls.
So it's the opposite of Larry.
Yeah.
So now you have no reason not to buy from Larry.
Except he doesn't have any Arasakas I want.
I saw one, and it may be of interest to you. I don't know, but I already bid on it. It's a Type 30.
Type 99.
No, it's a 30.
Yeah, no, that has no interest for me.
Because I mean, it still fires the same cartridge. The only difference is it's got the hook
carbine.
safety.
Ooh, that's the carbine. It's short.
Yeah, it's a short one. It's at 338 right now. But it's in good shape. God. Like,
Yeah, I saw that one.
This was not on my radar. I didn't want one of these. I only wanted the 38 because I thought the safety was cool on it, right? But the more I look at this, the more I'm like, yeah, I can do this. It has elements that are better, I think, than the 38. For instance, this one has a protected front sight, whereas the 38 doesn't. And it's got those tiny little carbine sights, which is kind of cool. I don't know, man. It's a nice chunk of wood, too. Like, it's the two-piece stock. But it's got more of a walnut type finish. And I forgot what that's called. So They took the mum and it's overstamped with the Tokyo Arsenal marking right on top of the mum. So like my teacher's rifle, they had put full moons around every petal. But on this one, they stamped the stacked cannonballs right on top of the center of the mum. So it's kind of a neat looking thing. So it says that it was indicated that it was removed from military service, but they didn't scratch it out, which means it was still somehow in service of the emperor. I don't know how that works. Like that's a mystery to me. But this one's been okay. Now I know why it's cheaper. So somebody refinished the stock. They did a really good job though. Like I don't knock it. I'd still have it. And it's been reblued. Oh, and the rifling is worn out. Might be a wall hanger. Unless you can find another barrel for it. I guess that's always a possibility. I don't know. I'm only in it for like another $70, so if it goes past that, I'm out. But it looks good otherwise. Like whoever did it did a decent job. So anyway, let's get into, I guess, my week in review. Okay, let me just preface this. Week 12, or sorry, this week's in review is, I always try to pick something upbeat and cheerful, and I've only got one story, and it's not upbeat, but as a 2A person, it's cheerful. But most of the news of the week is pretty crappy. Any of you who keep up with your news, regardless of what source you get it from, you're gonna realize, or you already know, that it's been a shitty week. Let's be honest. In terms of global news or geopolitical news or just whatever, it's been crap. But my week actually started off by catching my now ex-girlfriend cheating, which is funny because she still doesn't know that I know. Go figure.
Well,
right?
if she's the ex, she probably knows by now.
No, she doesn't know. I haven't said a word. Like I don't care. So it's like it's not a big deal. Of course, dogs in heat making noise is really irritating. You want to stop doing that? Thank you. Shh. Quiet. So anyway, yeah, that's how my week started. And then let's see what else happened. George's surgery went in for a follow-up, and they found out that he's okay. Like, they don't have to cut any more meat out of him, but they had to cut into him to find out. So he's been grumpy and sore all week, and my boss keeps overworking him anyway. So he's looking for another job. Like, he's had enough. He's tired of being devalued. And what's really funny is everybody at my shop who's quit has quit for one reason: the boss's wife. They call her, like, we came up with a nickname for her. We called her the Queen Bee because she seems to think she's in charge, but nobody gives a crap about her. And then they turn around, and when they quit, they basically tell the boss that they're leaving because your wife is unbearable. So we're leaving, that kind of thing. Every single person, like, it was probably at least 25 employees over the years who have come and left. Sometimes angrily, sometimes violently, but it is what it is. My boss's son, who the shop has raised since he was like 4 years old, he became a dad 2 days ago, which makes me feel old as hell because, I remember him being not even up to my knee, and now he has a kid. And what was funny was I walked into work yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, because the kid was born on the 19th. So yesterday I walked into the shop and he was already at work. And that kind of bothered me. It's like, wait a minute. The most important day of your life, and you were at the hospital, and you wanted to come back to work, but the doctor said you can't leave, which is good on the doctor. Then the following day, you're already back at work. It's like, wow, you're literally going to create yourself because your dad did the same thing to you. And generally, most kids, when they get old enough to have kids of their own, for the most part, they try to do things the opposite or very different than the way they were brought up, right? I mean, that's just stuff we do. And yet, he's falling right in line with what his dad did to him and his older brother. And it's like, okay, I guess that's going to be the way it is. You know, I used to tell George at work, I'm like, hey, if he has this kid, it's going to change him. And I'm like, hopefully for the better, because usually having kids sort of like rewires your priorities, right? So far, not really. He's kind of turning into more of an unbearable prick to other people. Not to me, but like I've seen him be more unbearable to a couple other people. And I sort of attributed it to A, the way his dad raised him, B, because he's just odd. Like he's different than most people. He's not wired the same as most people. You know, when we were in school, we were all chasing girls and cars and everything. And when he was in school, he was all about just school and business. And I'm just like, why are you in such a hurry to be 50? You know, you're young only once, and you're supposed to live it up before you can't. Then you have to hunker down and start making a living. But I'm like, he didn't waste any time sowing his wild oats, so to speak. I mean, he married the first girl that slept with him because he met her in college. So I guess that's the one positive thing, but didn't even play the field. I know that's weird, but in today's society, it's weirder to do that. I mean, to be honest. Anyway, I took a photo of him in his office, sitting at his desk, and he looks at me. He goes, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I need to memorialize this moment right now." And he goes, "Why?" And I said, "How much sleep did you get last night?" And he goes, "Oh man, like 40 minutes." And I looked at him. I'm like, "Now you know why I took the picture." I said, 6 months from now, you're gonna have gray hair or whatever hair's left on your head, because he's got male pattern baldness, something wicked. He's doing a comb over at 22. So yeah. So there's that. So I took the picture, and when I explained it to him, he kind of, he saw the humor in it, but, the stick up his backside is the size of a foam pole. Like, humor just escapes him sometimes. But anyway, that's going on. I tried to convince my boss to get away from two vehicles he's ordered. My shop has offhandedly become like how do I describe this? Almost like a new used car lot. So basically what they've been doing is they'll buy a high-end car and hang on to it for about 6 months to 18 months. And once he does that, he turns around and he flips it. Either he exports it out of the country where he knows he'll make money, but lately, because of the microchip shortage and because of producers not producing cars is on the same level, he's been buying these high-end cars that have gone, I call it the Viper effect. So like it goes way over the MSRP. So like for example, he bought a AMG G63, which is a G-Wagon with the AMG goodies on it. Twin turbo V8, all that good stuff. He's got a friend at the dealership network that put him ahead of a lot of other people because of his reputation of buying cars in the past. So he got it for MSRP, which is insane. Sometimes he gets it at invoice cost, but this time he had to pay MSRP. He's had that vehicle now for 5 months, 5 or 6 months. He's already been offered $60,000 over MSRP for it. So he's going to sell it. He's working on selling it right now. When he first got it, he had the only AMG G63 in Houston, Texas. Now there's like 7 or 8 of them. And they're so sought after that people are just chomping at the bit to get one, that they're doing like people did in 1992 for the Dodge Viper, When that thing first came out, it had an MSRP of, I think, $60,000. My friend Matt bought one because he had won one of Texas's first state lotteries, and he paid $250,000 to get his hands on one because that's how much people were willing to pay to get one at the time. That's why I call it the Viper effect. So anyway, that's one vehicle he did that with. That's up for sale. The other one he wishes he could sell, but he's not allowed to because the people he exports to want it, and he's not going to make as much money. He has a Porsche 997 Heritage Edition Targa. So it only comes in one color, and it has a dot on the side of each door that you can have your own number put on it. And, they only made 997 of them worldwide. He actually was called by Porsche and asked if he would like to purchase one. And it wasn't because of his buying power, it was because so many people had backed out that he became the next one on the list. So he was like, of course I'll buy it. So anyway, he paid $197,000 for it. He was offered $300,000 for it a week ago. So this is what my shop is becoming. Anyway, on the side. So now he's currently sitting on a Tesla dual motor, I forgot what it's called, Model X, I think it is. That's more or less the daily. They still have the G-Wagon. They still have the Porsche that sits in the driveway or in the garage a lot. What else do they got? A BMW X5, but that's for his son, his other son, when he comes to town. And I think that's it. I think those are the only ones he's got. Because they sold their Raptor. And then he ordered 2 more Raptors. Because the dirty little secret that everyone knows about is that the current Raptor is the twin-turbo V6. This year's new production year model, is also a twin-turbo V6. But next year's model, new platform, twin-turbo V8. And I originally thought they were going to use the Godzilla motor, but they're not. They're using a twin-turbo 5.4 out of a GT350, which is still, that's one hell of a motor. It's just, you came out with the 460 again. Why aren't you using it, you idiots? That kind of thing, right? With the EcoBoost technology. So he knows he wants that one, but the dealer said, you can't have it. And he's like, why not? I had a Raptor before. And he goes, that's the only Ford Heritage vehicle you've ever owned, and we have a requirement that you have to own a certain number of our Heritage vehicles to be on the list. And he goes, oh, well, how many is it for this? And he goes, well, for you, in your case, you only need one more Heritage vehicle. So he was like, I could sell you this year's Raptor, and then you can use it as a trade-in towards next year's Raptor for the V8. And he goes, yeah, do that, I want that. It's nice to have money, isn't it? That you can make decisions that easily. Like, yeah, I want that, let's do that. So that's what he was at, ordering 2 Raptors. And he had to put a deposit on both, which is strange, but whatever. And I came into work the other day and I told him, cancel your order. And he goes, why is that? And I'm like, cancel your order or move heaven and earth to make this deal. Or try to get to Porsche out of the country faster. And he's like, why? And I said, because... And I stopped and I said, do you know who Boris Becker is? My boss plays tennis. His son plays tennis. They go to a tennis club. They know tennis. And he goes, everyone knows who Boris Becker is. And I said, do you know what Boris Becker bought himself in the 80s when he was 17 years old? And he goes, no, I think it was a Porsche, right? And I said, he bought a Porsche 959, which is the twin-turbo analog flat 6 all-wheel drive. It's a race car on the street. And he goes, oh yeah, the one with the weird back end. I said, yeah, the one with the weird back end that cost $250,000 in the 80s. Adjust that for inflation. And he goes, so what's the big deal? Well, Porsche announced they're bringing back the 959 in response to Lamborghini's announcement that they're bringing back the Countach. And he goes, that's going to be like a $500,000 car. And I said, at least. But think what it'll flip for, because they're only going to build 959 of them. So he kind of brushed me off and dismissed me, right? And then I got a text message from him this morning going, I didn't get any sleep last night thinking about the 959. And I'm like, I gotcha. So anyway, that's my work week in review. That was the chick week in review. Um, I have not purchased anything this week. Between last week to this week, I haven't purchased anything because I've been mulling over what I want to do next. Because I got the last Polymer 80 308 lower from Primary Arms, so there was that, and I'm gonna build it out for a Christmas AR-10 build. And my goal is the first one I built. It weighs 14 pounds unloaded, and it weighs almost 20 loaded with a D50 attached. But I built it as a like a Overwatch suppressive fire type gun. It's got 24-inch bull barrel, bipod, gigantic like 56 millimeter objective 4x16 scope. It's huge. Like the whole thing is huge, but I wanted it huge because I thought it looked really cool. So now I want to build one that's less than 8 pounds with a 12.5-inch barrel. Because why not, right? And if the Polymer 80 breaks over time, no skin off my back. It's just I wanted to try it just to say I did it. The first time I built an AR-15 for myself, I did it just to say I did it. And it turned out pretty good. I still have it, actually. I tried to sell it like once or twice, but there's no takers. I don't know why. I mean, it's not like poorly built or anything. It's just the first one was kind of budget-minded, I guess. So it's very generic looking. I guess that's the way I can describe it. And I think I put a Tasco sight on it, a red dot. But I don't know. It's buried in boxes of other ARs. So there's that. I haven't bought anything because I tried to bid on a Greek Mannlicher Schonauer carbine, which if any of you have one and you want to sell it, hit me up. Email's in the description below because I'm kind of looking for one. But I got bid out in the first 2 days. I had a dollar figure in my head. I put it in. I walked away. I checked it 2 days later, and it went like 4 times over my bid. And I'm like, I'm out. It's not worth it to me. When it hit 4 digits, I'm like, it's not worth it to me. Not for a novelty. So I missed out on that. I purchased a Swiss K11 finally because I found them for Scott found them, but they were $350. So I said, you know what? I better get one before they realize that they're underselling. Okay, Zoro, I see your message. And I have decided, once upon a time, I was thinking about taking my Turkish Mauser, my 8805-35, and I was thinking of doing the drill and tap on the side of the receiver to do a scope mount. I think it's a Zeiss. Is it a Zeiss mount? I can't remember. Anyway, I was going to put a scope mount on it, and I was going to put I think it was a Zeiss scope, 3x fixed power scope. And I was going to theme the rifle the grandfather of the enemy at the gates, because it has the 88 magazine, even though it's got the 98 barrel. But when it arrived, it was in such nice shape that I'm like, it would be a travesty to drill into this. So I'm going to leave it alone. But my Swiss 89, on the other hand, my Swiss straight pull, I bought it as a derelict. And if you saw the This Old Gat video, you saw how kind of crappy the stock was before I refinished it. And even after I refinished it, it's still got the stains in the wood from the slight mold or mildew blooms in the pores. So I've got like a freckled 89 stock, which it doesn't hurt the function. I don't care. But I found a company, I think they're called Swiss Products. Let me look it up real quick. Yeah, Swiss Products. They're out in Montana. And they make a really cool scope mount that you don't have to drill or tap or anything. It replaces the action screws on the bottom of the gun, and they give you the longer screws, and you just run the screws up through the bottom, and then it wraps around the left side of the receiver and stock like a taco shell, and then you use I think it's a 30 millimeter set of scope rings, because the rail part of it's very thin, and then you can put a scope on it. And it's completely reversible. It doesn't devalue or deface your gun at all. So I think a couple weeks back I said something about wanting to shoot a group the size of a silver dollar at 800 yards with that rifle. But everyone says that's not realistic. That's a tall ask. So I said, okay, how about the size of my fist or the size of a grapefruit? And they're like, well, that's still that's reasonable, but it's still pretty hard to do. Well, I've got my All-Pro 3x9x40 scope that I took off the Springfield 1903, and now it's got no rifle to go on. So I think what I'll do is I will put the mount on the Swiss rifle, and then I'll put that scope on the mount. And that way I have an optic to do the 800-yard shots without struggling. Because I'm not God's greatest gift to shooting, but I can hit it. I'm minute a man. Like that's combat accurate. So with a rifle with a 56-inch long rifle, I should be able to hit the target at 800 yards with the scope. That's what I'm leaning towards. But when I order that, I'll show you the install. I'll do like I don't know if it's worth it This Old Gat Revisited, but what I'll do is I'll do a gear review on the mount, because it looks sturdy. It looks awesome. And the cool thing is it works on the Swiss 89, it works on the 9611, and it also works on the K11. So if this works out really well, I'll put it on the K11 also. Like I might get a second one, or I might just move this one back and forth. I haven't decided yet. But it looks good. And it's like $134 or something like that. So it's not like prohibitively expensive. So that's going on. Sorry. I should probably get up an extra hour earlier so I can get all this crap out of my sinuses before I go on air. The base for the Lyman turret head stand finally showed up. So I've reassembled that the correct way. And I think what I will do is another episode or another gear review, like a revisit on this. So that way you'll get to see it like you're supposed to have it built. Because I did it wrong completely. And I'll admit that. And I ended up spending an additional 50% than if I had just purchased their setup as a kit, because they would have just sent everything as a kit. So I spent more than I should have to get this setup. Live and learn. Like, be sure you read everything. I tell that to the Amazon people all the time. Like 90% of my returns are because people didn't read the listing, or the description, or the Q&A section, or use the Q&A section. It's like, use it. So there's that. My blind shelving came in for my die sets that are above my reloading bench now. So I cleared up 18 spaces where reloading dies used to sit on my bench, and all my Lee dies are up there. Yeah, all the Lee dies are up there. So now the only dies left on my bench are vintage RCBS and current RCBS models, which I thought I was going to have to buy another one for the Greek Monlicker, but hey, I lost, so, whatever. I was going to do a review on those shelves, but I've had a bad experience with them, which is really irritating. I bought them, they shipped them, I got it as an alert on Amazon on my phone, and I thought, oh, cool, I'll buy them because they're on sale. They shipped them, they came, the box was dense, because these shelves are kind of heavy. Even though they're only like 16 inches wide, they're an inch and a half thick. So I took them out, the mounts were inside, the shelves were inside, both shelves had damage, like a ding or a crunch in the corner of the wood. And I thought, well, that's lame. But I thought, whatever. I can work around this. So I did. All the mounting hardware was missing. All of it. Drywall mounts, screws, everything. The bits, all of it. So I reach out to the company and I'm like, hey, I got your shelving. Here's some pictures of the damage. I won't hold that against you, but I didn't get any mounting hardware. I will go to the hardware store and buy what I need, but I expect you to compensate me for an incomplete order. They wrote me back and they said, we can probably do that. Can you send us a picture of the box that your order shipped in? Sure. So I took a picture, I sent it back, they wrote me back, and they said, okay, I got it. Can you send me a picture of the inner box that the product originally was in? I wrote them back and I said, this is the only box it came in. This is exactly how I received it. Haven't heard from them in a week, which means they probably just said, whatever, fuck it. So they're going to get a pretty stern review on Amazon, which is, I don't usually do that. I try to find the silver lining in everything, and that's just not happening because they're not, I demand satisfaction and I'm not getting it. I don't care what this thing would have costed or how much you paid for it. If you get half an order, you should get half your money back. So I'm taking it up with Amazon. That was lame. But the shelves are up. I just got to get better drywall mounts because the ones I used still aren't strong enough. Like, it's trying to pull itself off the wall. And it's only got like 5 pounds of, dies on it, on each one. So after the show today, I'm heading over to the Home Depot and I'll get the metal drywall anchors that turn into giant, like, aluminum or steel tines up against the backside of the drywall. And that should do it once and for all. Because I want my stuff to work, like, as intended. But I got to admit, where I mounted these shelves, there's no studs. I had to use drywall anchors. And now I understand the importance of finding the studs because I'm looking at the 3 rifle racks that I put up. And I'm so glad that I found the studs for those because of how important the load-bearing capacity of those things are. You got a Husky garage shelving ×2 delivered by Home Depot. Fit together design, worked great. That they arrived a little late. Ah. Scott had an issue with somebody. I can't remember what it was. Hang on a second. I gotta fix the YouTube side check because it looks a little off. I'll have to fix it. It's cutting off the bottom part. I'll deal with that after the show, though. Sorry about that. How about that here? No? Maybe here? Maybe... If you guys are wondering why things are moving, it's because I'm trying to get everything right where it should be. There? Yeah, it's a bit wonky. I will fix that. You probably noticed that the layout looks a little different too. Like I added gradients and stuff on the logos. It's because of the rebang. I thought I had exported the layouts from OBS, and apparently I didn't. So I had to remake all of them, which was a pain in the butt. But it works now. It sort of works. I'm sorry that the text got cut off a little bit. I'll fix that later though. Let's see. Still trying to make sure I got the week in review stuff all done. Oh. My dog's in heat. That's the big one. Dog's been in heat. It's been about 8 or 9 days. It can last as long as 3 weeks. So if you hear any strange doggo noises, it's because I have 2 female Yorkies. One's the mother and one's the daughter of the mother. And the daughter's in heat. So all the male dogs, I have 4 males, they're all going crazy. The scent, I guess. They're going nuts. They're even fighting each other, which I think is ridiculous. So I got the females in my room with the door shut and like a gate in the hallway, and then, the other dogs have been instructed to be in other parts of the house. And it's been chaos. And I can't wait for it to be over. But the thing that scares me the most is the daughter's about to go out of heat, and I bet the mother's about to go into heat because it's been long enough since she had puppies. Which means I get to go through this whole thing all over again. Anyway, it sucks. It sucks. Like, I don't want to fix my dogs because they're not broken. Like, I always say that as a joke. But if I have to fix dogs, it's going to be the males, even though that's like a crime against males. It's less invasive on the body for the dog. And I have more males than females. And is it neutering for females or neutering for males? Whatever. The snip for males is substantially cheaper than the hysterectomy for females. So if I have to, that's what I'll do. Speaking of you hear that? You hear? Yeah, that's what I gotta deal with all day. So anyway, Zorro says he's got the flu, which is terrible in August because I've been there and I don't like it. It sucks. I wish they would shut those dogs up.
You know how he got the flu, right? Rapidly transferring body fluids.
Are you saying his future wife gave it to him?
Yep.
It's possible, but I mean, you got to remember she's from San Antonio, Texas. That's one of the first places that all the migrants who have flooded to the border and invaded our country has headed over to. If they haven't been caught, they send them to they go to San Antonio. Maybe it's COVID.
Ooh.
Hey Zorro, can you still taste and smell things? Because COVID. Did you think about that? COVID. And you know, once upon a time they were going to say something like, "But I got vaccinated." And it's like, yeah, look how well that worked out. I don't know if you noticed this, but in my celebrity death pool, I put this meme of an actor who talked about the vaccine, then he bragged about getting the second dose, and then later on, he bragged about needing the third one, and then 3 days after he got the third one, he died. And I'm just like, wow, it sounds almost
no
like... No
coincidence there.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like what happened to Marvelous Marvin Hagler, right? It's like, holy shit.
Not a coincidence, nah.
Okay, he said he can taste and smell. All right.
For now.
Yeah. I really want to fix the chat so I could see the bottom line on it, but if I do that, it's gonna break things. It's so gonna break things.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it. Let me see if I could do this while we're on.
It's annoying you, isn't it?
It is driving me batty, I have to admit. Let me change this to...
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I'm gonna have a quick bagel to eat. And then I'm gonna head out to my local FFL.
Oh,
because
okay,
Rupan
I can get this working.
Under the impression that there's only 1.5 pallets of ammo left.
Oh, at that place you're at? Already?
Yeah. Okay, he said, okay, no, never mind then. Because they only had 3 pallets out.
Okay.
He's got like 7 more pallets in the back room.
Got it. There we go. All right, I fixed it.
His mother must have said, oh, there's only 1.5 pallets left. And it's like, she didn't know there's 7 more pallets in the back room.
Nice.
I'll still be heading out there shortly anyways, because I want to get some more.
Okay,
From now on, I think I'm buying 1 caliber every paycheck. About 1,000 rounds every paycheck.
Once upon a time, Matt put out a video, NEA. And in his video, he said, get in the habit of buying at least 1 box of ammo.
That's what I did.
Every payday. What is my dog doing?
That's exactly what I've been doing. But I stopped doing that when retailers started freaking charging ridiculous prices because COVID.
Because COVID. You know...
So I stopped doing that.
I don't know if the viewers or anybody who's on my Discord throughout the week understand why I do that. If you remember Hot Fuzz, I think it was Hot Fuzz, right? Where the theme of the show was the greater good.
Yes, the greater good.
Yeah, that's why I always do that. because COVID. It's like that's my generic response. Anytime something bad, because COVID. Oh, and if you are a follower of my Penny Arcade series, I apologize. Yes, I do owe you a Kickin' It Old School because last week I didn't have my operating system thing finished and rebuilt. So it's still a little wonky, but I'll get to it. I got a bunch of new stuff to put on there. Problem is half of it doesn't film well. I've noticed that. Like I now I understand why game streamers pick certain games and avoid others because some just don't film well. Like the paces are too slow, or it takes a long time to get anything done, and it doesn't film well. So I've had to scrap like 8 videos so far because of that. A box of ammo keeps the doctors away and everyone else. That's pretty good.
No, that's how come I ended up with as much ammo as I did, that I didn't have to really buy too much throughout the whole COVID bullshit.
Well, see, I don't have that problem because I roll my own. And I keep trying to encourage people who shoot on the regular to roll their own because it's how much the cost per round is substantially better. Your time is worth money too, but if you get good at it, it doesn't take long to hone your craft. So, like, for instance, I don't buy 9mm anymore. I make my own because, I can make 50 rounds for $5. You can't buy 50 rounds for $5. You can't buy 50 rounds for, what, $20? Something like that these days?
Yeah, you can get, it's about down to that now.
Okay.
Or I should say, was.
Yeah, we'll get to that though. But yeah, you can, if your operating cost is 25% of retail, then either one of two things is going to happen. One, you save money, or two, you shoot 4 times as much for the same amount of money. I kind of fall somewhere in between the two. Especially after I got the KP9. I go through 9mm like it's nobody's business. I mean, just 600-700 rounds in a single range session is not unheard of anymore. With 9. Plus, there's a company in my area called Capital Cartridge, and they do processed once-used brass. Pretty cheap, so I don't even have to have them ship it. I could just drive to that side of town and get it if I want to. It's an hour and a half away, but everything in Houston's an hour and a half away these days. Speaking of, I guess I can do a local story real quick. This morning, as of this morning, there is a 22-mile 10-lane wide traffic jam in Houston right now.
Ooh.
Southwest Houston. If you're familiar with the area, it's Interstate 59, which is the one that goes from southwest to northeast. And it's because the good people of Houston are idiots because they didn't read the fucking news. They've told you a week ago they were closing it. And now there's 22 miles of you morons out there stuck in it. Ha! You get what you deserve. Anyway. Well, my 5th cough drop. Trying to clear my sinuses. Alright. So, that was our personal weeks in review. I guess we should maybe start getting into the stories? Maybe? You think we should do that? Like, that might be a good idea?
Might as well.
Alright, let me whip out the list. I have a list. Oh yes, I have a list. Alright. Welcome to the news segment of our week in review. Actually, John, I know you probably said that as a joke, but the highway in our area is 59. The interstate signs do say 69. They actually do. Because I don't know why they did that. I can't remember the story behind it. Oh, I know what it is. So 59 was originally a state highway. So it's the black sign with the white shield. Interstate signs are usually the blue, like Captain America's 1930s shield. That sign. So yeah, it actually is 69. In the eyes of federal, it's 69. In the eyes of Texas, it's 59. So I know you probably did it as a joke, but that's actually true. That's the way it works. All right, so let's do the news. I'll try again. Um, if you have fallen off of a rock or a turnip truck, or you live under a rock, yeah, let's start that over. If you fell off a turnip truck or have gotten hit in the head with a rock or live underneath one, um, maybe you don't know this, but the Biden administration has just dropped new sanctions on the Russian Federation. So, in retaliation for the poisoning of, what is it, Navalny is the guy's name?
Yeah.
Like Anatoly Navalny or something like that. He was an opposition leader. Um, the Biden administration has decided that to punish Russia, they're going to add sanctions which ban importation of all firearms and ammunition out of Russia. And anybody with a current import license will not be renewed if it's from Russia. It doesn't even have to be made in Russia. If it's stored there, if it's shipped from there, no more. Takes effect September 7th. So, welcome to the next major ammo shortage. Welcome to what I like to call backdoor gun control. Welcome to the fact that Biden is so butthurt that he couldn't get his little plaything in Chipman into the ATF that he's going to just take his ball and take all of America's balls and go home. So yeah, Russian ammo, Russian guns, anything out of Russia, banned starting September 7th. The actual wording should be right there. Restrictions on the permanent imports of Russian firearms, new and pending permit applications for the permanent importation of firearms and ammunition manufactured or located in Russia will be subject to a policy of denial. Welcome to your new gun control. Welcome to Joe Biden's America. And the question that really is on the tip of my tongue is, what's going to happen with Ivan the Bear Tactical?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is a PSA. You better tell all your friends, listeners, viewers, panelists, all of you, if you want anything from Zenit Co., you better order it right now. Because on the 7th, you won't be able to. Because they won't be able to give it to you. If you are a business or an importer, like Scott knows an importer of Zenit Co., you better take out a personal loan and you better buy as much stuff as you can right now, because you're not going to be able to get new inventory from him for 12 months at a minimum. The restriction for these new sanctions is they will review it in 12 months to see if Russia got its act together. Really? So, if you need Zenit Co. stuff, put your order in now, because Ivan the Bear Tactical doesn't ship right away. What he does is he fills a container, or enough of a container, to ferry it to the States in one large shipment. And if you don't get your order in now, and he doesn't fill it by the 7th, sorry. So that's going to be a problem. So I might have to hit up your friend Tufu, because if what Flippy told me is true about Kalashnikov USA, then I'm going to need another handguard and a hand stop and an upper and a charging handle knob and all that. Because I do want that. There's a rumor that Kalashnikov US, or not Kalashnikov, Kalashnikov USA, yeah, them, that they're going to put out a KP-10, a 10 millimeter version of the KP-9, which is a clone of the Vichaz. If they do that, I want one. If I get one, I want the furniture on it. So I'll probably be putting in another order with Ivan the Bear, or at least with Tufu, before the 7th. Because I'm going to need it, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, ban, it's coming. You've got, what, 2 weeks? You better act now, because supplies will be limited.
I think my local will probably put in a huge order. The one that imports Golden Tiger.
Yeah.
They'll probably put out a huge order to them, like 20, 30 pallets or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it's got to happen now because, shipment times, customs, all that stuff.
Well, as long as he gets the order in, he's good before the 7th. You know what I mean?
I don't know because it could be the customs check-in date. That'd be out of his control and the distributor.
Yeah. Well,
So that's
is
a
the
risk.
distributor.
But I was telling Scott yesterday as a joke because his guy imported 10 pallets of 76239. And I thought, you better take out a loan, get an American Express Black. You better buy all 10 pallets right now because you can turn $10,000 of ammo into $4 million on Gunbroker in about 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, welcome to your ban. Sorry. That's my first story.
Welcome to Joe Biden's America.
Yeah. As cliche as it sounds, I mean, it is what it is, right? All right, so this next story, I don't know why I put it in this order. Today's theme is fuck China, essentially. If you didn't know. So I'm going to go into a little bit of conspiracy theory again, which was the E Honda, we joked about it like E Honda does it, right? But I'm going to touch on this because it's a story that I found and I sort of dug into it and found more details of its rotting, festering, seedy underbelly, right? So here's the story here. Remember this picture because those two may be the first two people to hang in international crimes court in the future. Maybe. Anyway, so I like to make these little creative subtitles with these stories. And it basically says, China shows its hand and furthers its agenda to create world war. The latest in their negotiations with the Afghan Taliban include infrastructure proposals in exchange for access to rare earth metals and millions of tons of ore. Does that sound familiar? It ought to, because we did it. The only difference is we're not exterminating an entire people within our own country's borders like they are. So China negotiated a deal with the Taliban to, quote, monitor and manage their Uyghur population. Okay? They are going to build roads, fix airports, and help Afghans' infrastructure. Does this sound familiar? Because the exact same thing happened in Argentina. And the exact same thing happened on the east coast of Africa. They go into underdeveloped countries and they promise to build all this stuff. And they do it with a smile on their face. And they do it in the name of humanitarian expansion, right? And these countries go, hey, that's great, cool, come on over, build your roads and help us out. That's fantastic, but we can't afford to pay you. And China sits back and goes, oh, don't worry, bro, it's cool. We're just trying to help out. Tell you what, you see that piece of beach over there that nobody uses? Do you mind if maybe as a thank you or for compensation you give us I don't know, about 5 square miles of that coastline so we can build a dock and maybe a naval base there? I mean, think of the positives, right? Now your seas will be protected by the nation of Japan or China. See, I almost said Japan because basically China's playing Japan's playbook from 1939. But yeah, they go into the countries, they rebuild the infrastructure, they create a debt that the nation can't pay, and then say, don't worry about the debt, let us just build a base on your territory, which gives them a foothold to do whatever they want within the area. So if you've ever played Fallout 3, there was an expansion called Operation Anchorage, which delved into the idea of China invading the U.S. mainland through Alaska. Realistically, probably not going to happen. But they have a foothold in South America. Now they don't need a naval flotilla across the Pacific. They can do it with their amphibious assault vehicles, which they have been building countlessly for like over a decade. They have a coastal navy. Let's put it that way. They don't really have a transcontinental navy, but they don't need one anymore now, do they? Because they can just build them in the countries that they have a base on, and just go right up the coast, or they can just send their infantry right up the country. Because what have we been seeing come right up the country through Mexico and right across the border into Texas? That's a land invasion. You can call it something else, but you got to see it for what it is. That's a land invasion. And then on top of all this, and we talked about this in the last thing, is they lifted the restrictions on how many children you can have, which means they are breeding their army for the next generation, while the entire world is on lockdown from a biological weapon that they developed that has kept people locked away and has created a generation of lowly educated introverts who don't even have the social skills to get laid. So you're going to see for the first time in a long time that the global population is actually going to decline, because the only nation that's popping out kids like a factory is China, while the rest of the world is locked down. They're breeding the army for 2030, which is the first year I think Xi Jinping mentioned that he wants to go to war. Like, he's not even hiding this. He's telegraphing this. We're not following the Paris Climate Accord because we're building weapons of war. We intend to be in conflict between 2030 to 2050. Well, in 2030, all these kids that they've been having for the last 10 years, since the restrictions have been lifted, are going to be military age, 20. While the rest of the world's going to have an army of old men and small boys. Now, they also add on to that by saying, we're going to help Afghanistan, and we're going to help the terrorists who run it, and we're going to build their infrastructure, and they're going to help us with our Uyghur problem. When I told my mom that, because she's Korean, she knows a lot about Chinese history, because she lived it. She laughed in my face. She said, if you think that the Chinese communists are going to let a single tally across the border into their country, she's like, you're fooling yourself. And I said, what are you talking about? They said they're going to administer and manage the Uyghur population. That's their own Muslims. And she goes, those type of Muslims don't follow Chinese Muslims. They think that they're just imitators. They're not militant either. So they're just useless to them. They don't care what happens to them. China doesn't care. They just harvest them for organs. And she goes, what they're doing is they're turning they're turning the Taliban into a future scapegoat. Because what's going to happen is once this deal is done, which I believe it is already, and we're gone after August 31st from the region, supposedly, if we get them all out in time, they can start systematically murdering off all the Uyghurs in China. Like, you're about to see a modern day genocide. And what's what's ironic is news of it will be very contained, because it's going to happen within China's borders, which means unless you sneak in as a spy and get it on film and then get caught and executed for it, they're going to control the narrative, because it's state-run TV with state-run military murdering their own people. And if the word does get out, they have plausible deniability, because they'll turn around and go, wait a minute, why are you looking at us? We didn't kill all these people. We told you that the Taliban was gonna manage these people. We thought it was in good hands. And they're just gonna go, oh, you Taliban, how dare you trick us? They're gonna turn them into the enemy that we all know they are, without ever proving it, because they did it. Because they're not going to let any Taliban in, and they're not going to film any of it, and they're not going to let any film out of the country. So they just created their own scapegoat. Anyway, that's the conspiracy part, okay? I put all these little pieces together as a what if. How much of it you believe, or how much you believe is possible or feasible, or how much I believe is possible and feasible, I will leave that up to you. I'm not trying to convince you that this is happening. I'm just putting it out there. But you have to admit, there's a lot of pieces in this that make a lot of sense. And that's what scares me, because I don't want to believe it. But I know how those people work. Both groups, I know how they work. I'm a psychologist. I know how people are. This is dangerous because they're literally playing Japan's war playbook. They have contained their people. They have disarmed their people. They have been eyeballing Taiwan and all the oil fields in Indonesia. They have threatened Australia with nuclear war if they try to get involved. I mean, these are all the things that the Japanese did to the Chinese. They invaded China, Manchuria. They invaded the southern Asian island countries for their oil reserves. They threatened Australia if they intervened. This is all the same thing. This is history repeating itself. The only difference is we're not going to use nukes to stop it because no balls and mutually assured destruction. We also didn't have the internet, social media, drones, cameras, ICBMs, you name it. We didn't have any of those things back then, and yet they're playing the same game with so much more technology that they're going to achieve their goals multitudes faster because of it. And speaking of multitudes faster because of it, doesn't that sort of piss you off that we had been in a conflict for 21 plus years and lost so many of our own, and we literally lost it all in 6 days? It took us 20 years. It took the Taliban 6 days. What the fuck? Right? Like, people are going, what did we do all that for? Good question. The answer is going to make you sick. There was a story years ago, kind of like 3 or 4 years ago, that sort of was like a whistleblower type story of how the United States and England had made an agreement to export out 3.5 trillion tons of iron ore and 200 million tons of lithium. And I say the last part as a joke, but who knows how many tons of opium? Because it's one of the biggest exports of Afghanistan is opium. They did that because they wanted to, like, take their steel industries off of life support. America's steel industry is in the trash. England's steel industry is in the trash. And why is that? Because the Chinese steel industry has gone nuclear. They do it cheaper, faster, not better, but they do it cheaper and faster. And it killed all steel production in England and the UK. Like, we're not even a player in that market anymore. So we took all this iron ore to try to bolster our industry. Did it work? I don't know. Jury's still out on that. But now China's going to do it with rare earth metals and iron and whatever. And we have, Captain Sundown and his merry band of idiots leaving, 2,000 armored vehicles and freaking Black Hawk helicopters and everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets bad, gentlemen. Because this is where the theory really kicks off. Before this deal with China, I had told people in our chat that the scariest thing that is probably going to happen is on September 1st, you're going to see a bidding war between China and Russia, where they would come to the Taliban's table and say, I'm going to use Russia as an example. Russia comes to the Taliban and says, hey, we will give you 4 Hind attack helicopters for every 1 American Black Hawk helicopter you give us. And to sweeten the deal, we will train you how to use them, we will show you how to maintain them, and we will give you all the necessary parts to keep them working. And all you have to do is give us the Black Hawk. And then say China goes, whoa, 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 whoa. We will give you 30 of our tanks for every armored vehicle that you have that's from America. See what I'm saying? They're going to offer an enticing, you'd be stupid not to take the deal kind of deal to get their hands on our tech and then take it apart nut and bolt piece by piece and reverse engineer it and then implement it into their next generation weapons or find new ways to defeat the ones we've got. That's dangerous. And that's what's about to happen. Now, I thought it was going to be between Russia and China, but it looks like this is a one-horse race with China now. And if I was Russia, I'd be fuming pissed. Because that's the one country that could stop all of this from getting worse. And yet, you don't hear about Russia doing crap about Afghanistan or crap about China. Like, they're just turning a blind eye to it. Why is that? Why is the whole world turning a blind eye to this? And the answer is simple. Nobody wants to give up free, cheap Chinese labor. They are the world's manufacturer of cheap labor. And they're not going to give up that golden goose because of morals. Are you kidding me? So what if a couple million Uyghurs die? We got cheap labor. That's what they're thinking. Because at the end of the day, these, quote, world leaders are only thinking about themselves. I mean, that's why they do it, right? So yeah, they're going to try to trade for our tech. They're going to get it. They will get it. And then they're going to reverse engineer everything. So either you're about to see a new global arms race, or America's going to have to upgrade every single thing of its inventory overnight and make all the stuff we just left behind obsolete. Or Joe Biden can do airstrikes on his own equipment because he was too stupid to get it out in time. I suspect a little bit of all three. It's got to be. It's got to be. It's dangerous.
Well, here's the thing. The SOP is a 2-week pullout, and they were supposed to grab all that fucking shit.
The British got it right.
And slide out.
The British got it right.
You hear the latest about the British?
Hmm.
They're helping people outside the airport.
Yeah.
And the U.S. told them to stand down. And the British basically told the U.S. to go F itself.
Yeah. Things are about to get really crappy. And if you don't think that any of that is possible, then you are not a good practitioner of your history. Because I will encourage you all to go to Google, go to Wikipedia, and look up Tupolev, T-U-P, let's see, T-U-P-U-L-E-V, Tupolev Tu-4 bomber. Look that up. Because that is the first indication of what their intentions are today. And if you want a brief synopsis, the Russians allowed B-29 bombers during World War II that couldn't make it back to land in Russia. But if you did that, your plane and your crew were taken, they were interred until the crew was allowed to leave, but the planes weren't. And what they ended up doing is they took our B-29s and they stripped it down to its component parts and literally copied all of it, including like the graffiti on the inside of the frame, because they weren't sure if they needed it or not. The only difference is they work in metric and we work in imperial, right? So their plane was actually heavier because it was thicker, because they didn't have imperial measurement, so they just rounded up metrically. So the skin was heavier because it was thicker. The frame was heavier because it was thicker. The engines weren't as powerful, so it had even worse takeoff characteristics, and it was slower. But you know what? They improved on it, and it got better and better and better, and eventually it became the Tu-95 Bear bomber. And now that has evolved even further into whatever the new one is. It's got a 3-digit number. But the point is it all started with them getting our tech, reverse engineering it, and then developing it. And that is about what's going to happen. You can't deny it. Like, that's going to happen. The Uyghur thing with the exterminations and blaming the Taliban, okay, you can invest in Reynolds Wrap. But just remember this chat if it actually comes to pass. Because I told you so. Maybe I didn't believe it at the time, but if it happens, I'll just nod and go, yep, whatever. I can't do anything about it. All right, so yeah, I told you we were going to get. Teddy asked me this morning if I was going to talk about Afghanistan. I think I have just bored the viewers to death with it, or scared them to death with it. Either way, you're better informed because of it. So that was only the second story. Jesus Christ.
Do you see what HSV said?
Yeah, that was a while ago though. So anyway, good morning, Sam. I do see you out there in the chat. Alt tabbing for me is a little difficult. I need a third monitor to really get this going. Third story, because this week is so crappy in news, I thought I would try to pick things back up before I sucker punch you back down to the ground. Chipman's nomination is over because of this week. He has 4 scandals, and Biden's reputation is in the toilet. So this entire collapse has been a wake-up call for people who fight for the Second Amendment. Because if you didn't know, the first thing that the Taliban did, right out of Nazi Germany's playbook, is disarm the population. They set up roadblocks, and they searched vehicles, and they took all the guns from the people that they could find. Now, Scott brought up a good point. There are holdouts. There are people hiding weapons. They will be found. They will be executed. Their families will be executed. They know this. So most of the people aren't hiding weapons. But there's a couple of holdouts, and they're going to die badly. Like, that's going to happen. But the fact of the matter is because of this scandal, because of the visual display of the importance of having the right to keep and bear arms, by watching this regime steamroll 20 years of progress away in 6 days, this has pretty much defeated any and all hope that Chipman's going to be nominated. And the libs are pretty fucking pissed about it. They're pretty upset. They didn't get their token boy. So
well, I think this ammo ban is tit for tat because Chipman.
It's possible. It is possible. That could be very true, that this is because of that. But you know what? They made their bed and they got to lay in it. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It's just he's not getting in. Now it's just a matter of who will. I nominate James Woods. Anyway, that's a quick one. Sorry. I just thought that would cheer you up. Chipman's out. Like, the White House already said that they're trying to find an exit strategy to get his nomination off the list. He's done. Flip him over. Stick a fork in him. Get him the fuck off my camera. So that's that.
Now they're gonna have to hold hearings on whoever they try to name again.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's gonna be a month-long project.
I'm thinking it's gonna be all the way up until the 22 midterms, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, the Republicans will definitely stall it, or try and stall it till then.
Strangely enough, Senator Bulldog Cheeks, Mitch McConnell. You can see I really don't have a very good opinion of that fucker either. He's been pretty good about this one, about ATF nominations. So, good on him for that. But he's still a prick. All right, so keeping in theme with the whole fuck China theme today, Smith & Wesson decided to pull a page right out of China's playbook and steal intellectual property rights. And they did it in the form of answering a question that nobody in the firearms community asked. They debuted this. Look familiar? Smith & Wesson announces the new dual-tube M&P 12 pull-pup shotgun. Okay, so it actually isn't semi-auto. It is a pump, isn't it? So here's the deal. This is a blatant ripoff of the Keltec KSG, and now that I realize that it's a pump, it's also a blatant ripoff of the DP12, isn't it? Remember that
Yep.
one? The DP12 I think was dual tube, dual barrel, and you racked
No.
it, and then you pulled the trigger twice. Once to fire the left barrel, once to fire the right barrel. But yeah, this is like a blatant ripoff. Like if I was Keltec, I would legally be so far up Smith's ass right now. Because I mean, let's be honest. What did the people want from Smith and Wesson these days? What do they want? Well, more 10 mils, a PCC in 10 mil because they're very popular these days. Or maybe bringing back something from their heritage line. Like, I don't know, how about the Night Guard series that I adore? Or the PDs. I think they still make PDs, but they're limited production. Like classic guns. Take a page out of Colt's book. I mean, you're stealing everyone else's shit. You might as well steal theirs too. Anyway, yeah. Smith & Wesson, go fuck yourself.
So they've gone full PSA?
No, they've gone full China. They're like, you know what?
Because
We're gonna
PSA
build
has
that
a
too.
habit of copying everyone else's stuff too.
Let's see. HVS was saying that one day Biden's press conference will be evidence of Biden's dementia devolving into aphasia. Reporter will ask a question and Biden will reply, "Purple accordion, sickly control, must rhinoceroses be." That sounds very Yoda-like. You're giving him way too much credit. If you
Yeah.
want to see how stupid he is, look no further than his interview with George Stephanopoulos a couple of days ago, where he couldn't even identify the rank or the branch of service his dead son was in. Like, it was just him tripping over his own tongue. He
And
was a
that's if you
captain.
can
He was a
find an
major.
unedited.
He was in the Army. No, maybe the Navy. Well, make up your mind, Joe. What the fuck is it? I mean, you must have loved your son so much that you couldn't even remember that. Do you remember what you ate for breakfast, Joe? Does your underwear say front outside on the band, Joe? Does your socks say left and right, Joe? Probably not. Anything with the word right in it's probably burned off. He's mentioning Vice President knee pads, too. Speaking of Vice President knee pads, you know where she's
Where's she
been in all
hiding?
of this? She hopped a fucking plane to go to, was it Vietnam? I'm sorry. What the hell is she doing in Vietnam? The problems are in Afghanistan and in China. I'm sorry. If I was the guy piloting the plane that took Harris to Vietnam, I would turn the autopilot the fuck off, and as a patriotic duty, I would land in Afghanistan at Bagram and just open the hatch and be like, "She's all yours," and boot her ass off the plane. And then take off again. Leave her there. Do your fucking job. Anyway.
Well, I think she might be concerned about a certain amount of patriots showing up in Washington, D.C.
I'll get into that in a minute. I was asked a question, a pretty rhetorical question yesterday. Actually, I guess I'll do it now. Fuck it. While it's still fresh in
We've
my
all
mind.
had the thought.
My buddy Ron, he's my mentor. He's 75. And we talk about politics a lot. And I get pretty angry. We yell. He listens, though. He understands where I'm coming from. And he was talking about listening to my local guy, Michael Berry. And I know that some of you have heard me say this. If you get a chance, go to iHeartRadio, look up KTRH 740, and try to listen in between the hours of 7 or 8, I think it's 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, to the Michael Berry Show. He comes on again in the evenings between the hours of 5 to 7 p.m., same time twice a day. and you might want to listen to what he's got to say. He's from a little town called Orange, Texas, so he's kind of salt of the earth, good old boy country. But he has 2 law degrees, one from Harvard, one from Oxford. He has studied abroad. He has tried to run for he was part of Houston City Council. He ran for mayor of Houston, but he lost to a Democrat, obviously. His wife is of Indian descent. Country, South Asia, Indian. She was once the lieutenant governor of Texas. They have no biological children. He has adopted 2 children from Ethiopia, and they have grown up to be colorblind and very sensible kids. They're very respectable kids. And the reason he adopted children was because he believes that there are enough good children out there that need homes that he doesn't want to add to the, he doesn't need to, which is pretty admirable. But he's staunchly conservative with folksy wisdom. He's really good listening to. So my buddy Ron asked me, he goes, "Did you listen to the show the other day? He had that writer from the Heritage Foundation." I said, "Yes." And he goes, "What did you think?" And I said, "It was a waste of 30 minutes of my time." And he got really angry with me. He's like, "I keep trying to tell you, I'll put these people in front of your ears so you can hear this." And he was like, "You're so dismissive of this." And I said, "Do you know why? Because none of it matters." The guy brought up the fact that conservative radio is a network that we have that the Democrats can't touch. They don't have it. They don't have anything even close to it. And he tried to make it seem like that's our weapon. I'm sorry, it isn't. It's our weakness. Because the fact of the matter is they don't have radio because they don't need radio. You don't need radio when you control 95% of the television media. You have a better thing to use. Why would you go to the analog? They have that. They control the narrative. They control the population centers. They control social media and cancel culture. They don't need the fucking radio. So he understood it as soon as I put it out like that. And he goes, "So what you're saying is they can't be defeated?" And I said, "No, not like this. But I have seen with my own eyes in a week what defeats Democrats. I know what the kryptonite of Democrats are. I know what has categorically beaten them for the last 25 years. It's the Taliban. And if you want to defeat them, America needs its own version of it. They tried to say that we were that on January 6th. That wasn't even a dress rehearsal. The only way you're going to defeat them is you're going to have a group large enough and motivated enough to march into Washington and say, you have 30 days to leave. We will let you leave, but you have 30 days to get out. Because that's all they know. That's all they understand is violence. They don't understand logic because they don't have any. They don't know what common sense is because they lack it. So the only way to defeat them is by the only means that they know how. Demand their ouster. The fuck out. Once I told
Scott,
them that...
did you go over there yet, Scott? Let me interject for a sec.
No, I haven't.
My buddy my friend at a gun shop called him, and he said he only had a pallet and a half left.
There's no way he went through that many pallets in like 6 hours.
I bought 2 boxes, and the people were going in there, were just grabbing them and leaving.
So for those of you who are wondering what they're on about, Scott's FFL bought 10 pallets of 7.6239, and apparently it's going off the shelf faster than they could put it there.
I apologize for jumping in here.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like, that was the very man on the street like, so that's perfectly cool with me. I'm fine with it. But anyway, if you needed illustration of what's about to come in terms of that new round of sanctions taking effect on the 7th, this is it. This is just one shop in one state in this country. And that guy happened to import 10 pallets, and it's almost all gone already? What do you think the rest of the nation is going to look like in a week?
Well, I can tell you that AmmoSeek crashed.
Yeah, no kidding. Any comm block caliber is gone. Tula, gone. Golden Tiger, about to be gone. Golden Bear, Silver Bear, all that, about to be gone. But fear not. Oh no, you can't buy Chinese 76239 either, because there's a ban on that, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so, you mad yet? Are y'all mad yet? Because you ought to be. Because this is happening right in front of your eyes, and there's nothing you can do about it. Which goes back to what I talked about earlier. How do you defeat the left? Well, the Taliban just showed us how to do it. They just did it in 6 days. We don't have to be violent, but we have to be that motivated. We have to be that all in to succeed. You're going to have to go up to Washington and say, you have 30 days to leave, or you will be out in a box. Now, you can take that any way you want. The way I meant it was the ballot box, but I know what it sounded like. Anyway, let's see. I've got 2 stories left for you. Yeah, let's get into those. I call her the demonic Chucky doll. You know her as Congresswoman Dianne Feinstein, right? So the way I worded this, actually, let me pull it up for you. Here. Oh, I can't stand looking at her face. The Senate's Eye of Sauron turns its gaze towards Arms List in retaliation for their lawsuit against social media deplatforming. Once again proving that Democratic senators don't know shit about guns, purchasing them, or the legalities of the sites that sell them. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit so you can see it better, if you want to read it while we talk about it. So essentially, they have sued Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Basically, they went after all the social media sites saying, we're suing you for deplatforming us. You're denying the freedom of speech and expression and publication. Once again, they fall back on, we're a private company, Section 230 protects us, we can do whatever we want, go fuck yourself. So that's where the lawsuit stems from. So then, in retaliation, Congress has decided, through Dianne Feinstein and Richard Blumenthal, good old Leatherface Blumenthal, right? They've introduced this bill to hold accountable gun marketplaces that allows, quote, illegal gun sales to be conducted across their platforms. That's what I'm saying. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? Arms List is like Craigslist, isn't it? It connects people within your region for ammo, firearms, accessories, personal property. And the last time I checked, you can sell your personal property. That's your right. They're saying it's illegal. They're trying to push a narrative that selling guns online is illegal. No. Because if you just go to Gunbroker and just read the terms of service, you can buy the gun, but it still has to go to an FFL unless it's a CNR and you have a license for CNR, or unless it's an antique, which is pre-1899, which is really annoying to me.
Which is not a firearm at that point.
Right, but you know what's really annoying to me about that? Antique firearms before 1899. Why hasn't that date shifted every year that passes?
You mean like the CNR available guns?
Yes.
Because it wasn't written that way.
It should be rewritten then. It should be amended.
1999. It's not a sliding thing. There's no.
Right, but it should be, because the gun that was built in 1915 is 106 years old, right? It's just as much of an antique relic as the gun built in 1899 now. The one in 1899 is just getting in worse and worse shape.
Except for the fact that pre-1899, what didn't they have?
Good steel.
amongst that.
Semi-auto
How many
actions.
of those? Bingo.
Smokeless powder, by and large, but no, I mean, just, that's my point
Cartridges.
is that should have slid just like CNRs do, but they didn't, because like you said, they probably didn't word it properly, which, if you're a pro-gun person, maybe pushing for an amendment for that to keep it relevant to the times would not actually be a bad thing. Like, maybe we should do that. Anyway, the only reason I brought it up was because Feinstein's pushing that she wants to remove Section 230 protections only for gun sites. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Okay? You either have Section 230 for everybody, or you have Section 230 for nobody. So now she needs to ask herself, is she willing to sacrifice social media? Is she willing to sacrifice the second biggest propaganda tool that the Democrats have just to go after arms list?
Yeah.
Do you know how many Democrats have blown up her phone going, shut the fuck up, Chucky-doll. You don't realize the fallout from this. That's what they're doing to her right now. They're shutting her the hell up. They're calling Leatherface and they're like, you're an idiot. Go back into hiding. Nobody wants to see your face. Because you can't pick and choose who has 230 protections. The way it's just like the antique thing. It's written a specific way. It's all encompassing. So either you have it or you don't. Are you going to give up your propaganda tool to go after one gun website? I don't think so. But they're going to try. They're going to try to split that hair and find some bullshit leftist legal loophole to say, nope, we can make this exception because ... And you know how they're going to do it? With the help of the NRA. Because that fucking group does it to us every single time. People ask me all the time, am I going to the NRA show next week? No. It's in my city. It's an hour away. It's 10 minutes away from my favorite restaurant. I don't want to be nowhere near that shithole. You couldn't delouse me fast enough to get away from the hypocrisy of the NRA. Fuck that. If you have a sensible bone in your body, don't go. Now, if it's a GOA show, if the NRA dies and the GOA takes over, I'll be the first person in line. I will go there, hand on heart, nose held high. I do not support the NRA. Fuck that. That is corporate bullshit. And it's not even a case of, well, it's the best we've got. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. The excuse is the best you've got to say that, though, isn't it? Fuck that. No. Not going. I wanted to for years. As a Gun Channels member, when everybody was talking about going, man, I was on the hype train. I was like, I gotta go. Flippy went there one time, and they had like this, like simulator, and if you got a hat when you were finished with it, and it's like a VR gun, and you handle a hostage situation, and he accidentally like hit the hostage, and everybody in the crowd started freaking out. So he just mowed down everybody. He was like, well, no witnesses. He took out everybody. And the guy who was running the VR thing very reluctantly handed him his hat, and he was like, get out of here. Like, that's the best thing I heard out of NRA. Anyway, yeah, fuck them. I ain't going. Fuck that. The other reason I really don't want to go is because Houston's a blue city. It's run by an idiot, and his county judge is a bigger idiot that's still in diapers, actually. She's freaking 29 years old, and she only won because of straight ticket voting. And she sounds like a clueless Dora the Explorer. Like, she's so meek and just chicken shit on camera. Can't stand her. A good man lost his job because of this. And now he won't run against her because he said, fuck you, you get the government you deserve. Which sucks. They're going to find an excuse to shut down the NRA show the day before it kicks off. I mean, look at all the COVID lockdowns. Because COVID.
It's a super spreader event.
Oh, yeah. They've already locked down the city again. I don't live in it. I don't live in that county. But they've locked down the whole fucking county again, including city proper. Mask mandates, face diapers, social distancing, the whole thing. Guaranteed, before the NRA show kicks off, they're going to find a way to revoke their convention permit. Thank you. I was going to say license, but you're right, permit. They're going to find a way. I know it. What they're doing is they're waiting for all these companies to spend all their money for transportation, airfare, hotels, restaurants. They want them to spend all that money for days and days and days before the event, and then at the last second go, sorry, you can't have the show. Thanks for all the money you spent on us. Now go home because we're locked down. That's what they're doing. That's what criminal extortion looks like. That's what Democrats look
And
like.
there'll be massive lawsuits against the city.
Doesn't matter. They'll be protected because it's for the greater good. Because COVID. I'm telling you, that fucking thing is coming. Guaranteed. So I'm glad I'm not going. Anyway, you guys in the chat, I encourage you to participate in this next and my last topic. Because I'm not really sure where I stand on this and how I feel about it. But I am motivated to talk about it. Because I'm a psychologist. I look at this from that point of view. I also sort of minored in sociology, so I don't look at just the individual. I also look at groupthink, and I also look at, social norms and circles and all that shit. So anyway, the last story of the day is Scot Petersen, the resource officer of Parkland High School. Oh, it was 2018. It's right there. He has been charged with criminal child negligence for being a coward, for not doing his job, for not following the oath he took to serve and to protect and uphold the laws. Okay? He could have been charged with, was it 1,440 something students of that school that year? He could have been charged 1,440 something times. But I think even the prosecutor decided that's probably unreasonable. So they're only charging him with the deaths, 17. Right? So they're doing this on the grounds that resource officers are considered, or should be considered, caregivers. That's where I differ from the opinion. I don't think an officer is a caregiver. So I think that they're going to lose this trial based off of that flawed logic. However, if they went at this at the angle of, you swore an oath to serve and protect the people and the laws of the land. If you hit it from that angle, where he had to swear in before he was given his badge and his gun, you have a slam dunk. Because he could have stopped it at 1 death, or 2 deaths, or maybe 4 or 5 deaths. But instead, 17 people died while he hid like a bitch. Okay? He didn't kill those kids. But he should have killed the ones who did. And he didn't. Because he's a coward. And I know it's not an easy job. And I respect the people who do it. Because for every one officer, there's like 360 something thousand people to every officer in this country. They have a lot on their plate. They all just want to get home like everybody else. I've heard all the cliches. I get it. But if you swear to do a duty and then this happens, go do your job. Swallow your fear, bite your tongue. Because if you're scared and you've got the gun, what do you think all these children and the teachers feel? They're desperately seeking you to come save them. Where are you? Where the fuck were you? So anyway.
Well, after this happened, he should have done the right thing and fucking shot himself.
I'm not gonna encourage people to do that. But my question is what do you guys think about this? Is he criminally liable And what should his punishment be? Because I agree he's liable, but I don't know how I would go about punishing him. The only thing I can think of that's reasonable is you strip him of his badge, you take away his pension, and he's never ever allowed to work in law enforcement again. That's the only thing I can think of that's reasonable to strip him of.
That's
Take
not
away,
enough punishment.
well, no, but take away everything that he was supposed to do in the first place away from him. No pension. No pension. That's the big one. All benefits and pension gone. You forfeited them. That's the punishment part. The compensation to society is there's one less useless cop on the beat. I didn't say they're all useless. He's useless. Bad cops are useless. Abusive cops are useless. Coward cops, like him, useless. So you get rid of them. Like, look, you couldn't do the job. Like, if you went to work, you do HVAC. If you couldn't do HVAC, the company has no business to keep you, right? So they would let you go. They'd be like, well, I hired you to do a job, and you can't do it, so I'm going to have to let you go, right? If you were sworn to serve and protect the people, and you swore an oath to do it, and you renege on that, I'm going to have to let you go. You didn't do your job. 38 Democratic Congress people in the state of Texas didn't do their job. They hopped a plane and became super spreaders in Washington, D.C. for like almost a month. They finally came back to work. I'm sorry. I'd have had your asses arrested and hung outside the Capitol building. Dereliction of duty. You were hired to do a job. You didn't do it. Fuck off. Obviously, frontier justice doesn't exist anymore. The government should have unilateral control of expelling Congress people who don't do their job. The problem is that's a very easy thing to abuse. So my solution to that is give the governor the right to call for a special election in an emergency session to replace people that don't do their job. That's different, because then you put the decision in the hands of the voter. So that's how you solve that. Anyway, that's my stories. That's my news of the week. I ended it with Scot Petersen because it's complicated for me. You got to take away his ability to do his job because he doesn't do it anyway. Just sorry, you're fired. You don't get a pension. He was okay.
Now, if he's criminally convicted, he will lose that pension.
I think he should have been stripped of it already.
They can't just strip it without a criminal conviction.
Okay, so this trial will determine that then.
Yeah.
That's going to have to be a real Johnny-on-the-spot prosecutor. Because they've already screwed up. They're trying the caretaker.
Yeah, they waited way too freaking long.
Well, no, they're trying the caretaker angle. And I don't think that's going to fly. That ain't going to fly. And like you said earlier before we went on air, you were saying that you can't... How'd you say that earlier? Before we went on air, you were mentioning that we can't... Never mind, brain fart.
Mm-hmm.
We just gotta... Oh, that's what it was. You were saying that a court ruled that officers don't have to protect the people.
Yeah, Supreme Court ruled that.
Right. Which is really odd to me because it goes against the very oath they were sworn in with. So, who the hell at the Supreme Court found a way to avoid the oath? Like, how to bypass I don't get that at all.
Most of them probably just changed the oath.
I mean, it seems like a shitty thing to do, though.
Well, you think back to the 90s. Back in the 90s, all the cop cars had to serve and protect on them. You don't see that no more. Why is that? Because they don't have to.
Actually, in my county, it still says, what does it say? think it said like proudly serving the residents of Fort Bend County or something. It says something like that.
Yeah, but like universally, they used to all say like to serve and protect.
Yeah, because it was a cliche line. It was easy for them to.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They were like, "Oh, that's a good one. We'll just use that," and everyone sort of followed suit.
Kind of how like 90% of all cops carry blocks.
Doesn't it say something like that in Cyberpunk 2077? It's like to protect and obey or something. It's like a cynical joke. It's like you will obey, you will fall in line, you will become good little sheep.
I don't know, never played it.
Oh, it just got a 50 gigabyte upgrade. I'm kind of curious. I might waste the time and get it and take a look. I'm still trying to figure out. Actually, you know what? We can get into that since there's only 14 minutes left. Okay, so what does the future of your weekend look like? And I suspect you're driving to that shop right now to go pick up as much 39 as you can get your hands on.
I may be maxing out a credit card.
I was going to say you may be taking a couple of derelict guns that you're probably really not attached to trade for value for ammo too. Or did you forget that was a possibility?
No, I'm not willing to give up any of my guns.
So, okay, so that's what you're doing. There's a gun show today in my area, but I didn't want to go. I had to do this, first of all. And I made this joke yesterday about it. But for me, going to a gun show to sell a shotgun at a show that's over an hour and a half away is sort of like... Have you ever been with a chick who wasn't into quickies? Like, they want the whole experience, the whole wine, dine, 69, thank you, ma'am, wham, bam. They want the whole thing, right? They want the whole pageantry and the whole show. Y'all can't just like scratch the itch or feed the urge or hurt for a squirtin' kind of a thing, right? Some chicks are like that. They're like, it's really messy for us, and we have to shower and clean everything up, and then we gotta wash the sheets, and I was like, they look at it like that. I've known girls like that. They're like, if I don't have the whole event from start to finish,
dated girls like that.
I've one or two, yeah. But I understood their argument at the time too, which is kind of strange because it was like, oh come on, I just want to get this over with. But no, I mean I get it. It's like it's work. It's a bit of work. I mean the rewards are nice, especially for us, but I get it. And like me going to the gun show an hour and a half away to carry around a 9-pound shotgun with a for sale sign just to like have to talk to like 50,000 looky-loos with no money. It's too much work. I don't want to do it. I could have done it for the last month and probably made about $850 on my Shockwave with all the stuff added to it. Probably would have sold no problem. Just the thought of having to get up and get all that shit in the bag and drive all the way over there and stand in line with a face diaper for 2 hours because it's limiting the number of people who can go in and out of the building. That's the other shitty part. Well, how hot is it right now? Hang on, I'll tell you exactly. 101 and stand outside for 2 hours. No, ain't worth it. So I have
I'm gonna be digging holes. I'm gonna be digging holes for avocado trees.
Oh, you're gonna plant some new ones?
Yep.
Okay, so when you do it, do you stake the seed over a cup of water for a little while until you get the sprout to make sure you have a good seed and then plant it?
We do that first, we do that first, and then once it's kind of getting up to a certain length, then we put it in a bucket and we let it grow a little bit more. And then when it's kind of looking like a semi-small tree, then we plant it. But these ones are already big. So.
I like Clover's suggestion, and I think I might do that. Bring it to Tulsa in November. You know what? I'm going to do that. I will do that. Thank you for suggesting that, because I can do that with a longer gun. That's perfect. So yeah, Shockwave for sale,
Yeah,
Tulsa Arms Show.
Shockwaves aren't longer guns.
Huh?
They're others, aren't they?
They're not pistols. You can sell a shotgun across state lines. You can't sell pistols across state lines.
Yeah, but it's not a shotgun.
It is a shotgun. Well, it's a firearm. But still, it's not a pistol.
Exactly.
It's not a pistol. That's the only thing. No, that's perfect. I'll probably do that. Flip that.
No, I'm gonna see if I can buy 4,000 or 5,000 rounds.
Yeah, you should. Like, I know what you're gonna do. I have to conserve it. It's like, no. You buy a pallet, you split it in half, you sell the other half, and make enough profit that you could have bought 5 more pallets in 3 months. Yeah. You're gonna need a pickup truck and a forklift. Bet you wish you had that freaking Maverick now.
I don't know if the Maverick can handle the weight.
He could tow 1 pallet, I'm sure. Like, the pallet can't weigh more than about 2,200 pounds. That's still heavy. Don't get me wrong, that's still heavy.
40,000 rounds of ammo.
Ah, okay. I will do that. Absolutely. Thank you for suggesting it too. Because, I mean, the only other person that I know is interested in it's local to me, but I don't know when she's going to come up with the money. And, you know, I'm first come, first serve. I'm not going to hang on to it if I don't really want it. I may take up Scott's idea of getting... I really want to take the gun I built. Because I built a Shockwave. I put the SB M4 brace kit for the Shockwave on it. And then I put a Fab Defense forend on it. That's got pick rails down the sides. I put a heat shield over the top. I put a True Glow gobble stopper sight on it. It's got a side saddle. It's got the Opsol adapter. It can hold like 16 rounds of mini shells. So you can put 10 in the gun and 6 in the saddle. And it's very cool. It's just right after I built it and took pictures of it, I'm like, I really don't want it because it's still a pump. And then Black Aces Tactical came out with theirs. It's semi-auto, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take all these bits and put those on that, and then I'll have something I want to keep. That'd be cool. The only difference is with the Black Aces
right
one. Yeah, but the problem is I can't run the mini shells in the Black Aces because you can't use the Opsol adapter on a semi-auto action. But that's fine. I don't care. At that point, I won't care. That's a trade-off. I'm willing to make that trade-off. Because, I mean, my defensive ammo in that thing is Warwolf Ordnance's quadruple-aught buck shells. 13 pellets of 40 caliber rounds coming out of that thing at once. It's powered by hate. It's powered by hate.
Mine
That's the best way to
are
describe it.
DOT rifled slugs, 1.5 ounce slugs.
I used to put in slugs, but then when I saw the quadruple-aught buck, I was like, oh no, this is it. Because the furthest distance across my house is 30 yards.
Package of the expanding upper slugs.
Oh, the oaths? Yeah, they went out of...
expanded to be about 3 inches in diameter.
Yeah, the oath rounds. They went out of business, though. I really wanted them, but God, were those expensive. They were really expensive.
They were nasty looking.
Yeah. If you want something that's similar, there's a guy called Ballistic Machinist. He makes them. He makes something very close to it, and he has his own website. You could buy it right from him. I got a friend who actually did something kind of crazy. He combined a Dragon's Breath round with a pepper ball round. So what he did was... No. It's a Dragon's Breath round, but in front of the Dragon's Breath stuff, it's like a half charge. The other half is condensed packed cayenne pepper powder. So essentially what it is he's created a gas warfare shotgun. Because if he fires this thing, the cayenne pepper disperses into a cloud and the Dragon's Breath ignites it. And then you have this very choky, peppery gas in the room. So like, yeah, you better be wearing your GP7 if you're going to strap up with that thing. Because you'll choke on it too. But yeah, he made a few. I've seen it in play too. It's nasty. Like, I wouldn't want to be in the room with that thing. Are you kidding me? Nope.
When you guys were talking about the 760x39 Russian ammo ban, I'm like, that made it easier for me to choose between getting a 7.62 Galil or a 5.56 Galil.
I guess I said the opposite, but now that makes more sense to me. You're right. Now the 5.56 makes a lot more sense.
Like, we were importing metric tons of 5.56 9mm, all kinds of crazy shit from Russia. Like, what was available was like 40% of what was available.
Yeah.
Was imported from Russia.
Well, isn't
You
it?
imagine how bad it's gonna get?
Aren't there already like Turkish, Ukrainian 760x39 out there besides Russian?
Yes.
Yes.
But you're not getting it at the same price.
No. I'm just saying.
I mean, just think of it like this: Tula, the wolf ammo, the tiger ammo, the bear ammo, like kiss it goodbye. Like how I was gonna get around my local range, and their stupid "you can't shoot steel case here" bullshit, by getting Golden Bear, which is brass washed steel, right? I could have got around that. Now I can't because the ammo is about to get banned. I'm gonna buy some Golden Bear today.
Yep.
Like as
Well,
much as I can get.
I was telling myself, like, dang, I it's hard to make this damn decision. And then I hear the news, and I'm like, oh, that made it easy.
Man. Well, yeah, because before the sanctions were raised yesterday, you couldn't lose either way. 7.6239, 5.56, 5.45 Galil. It's still a really cool rifle. Like you win no matter what. Now the thing about 5.45 though, most of the 5.45 around here is federal anyway, isn't it? Like they're making it. It's pricey, but it's still there.
Pricey quantity makes it.
Yeah.
They don't make quantity though.
Not yet. So one of the things that Mike was talking about.
I've heard they're going to be, but
yeah, one of the things Mike brought up yesterday was if this ban takes effect, long game, the domestic producers will gear up for it because they will not know how long this is going to hold. So they will spend the money because see this is a worse artificial shortage than COVID was. Way worse. Because this is targeted at a specific type of ammo from a specific country. So it's an incomplete shortage that's deliberately placed on the people. I want to know if importers would have a lawsuit against the federal government for doing this to them.
I would expect to see lawsuits.
Right, because I mean,
I would bet you within a week you're going to hear rumblings about somebody filing for an injunction against the federal government.
Yeah, well, that's why they said it's not going to happen until the 7th, so you have time to challenge it, I guess. But the thing is you have distributors and importers, and they probably have signed contracts with electronic money transfers already done for a contracted order that they have on a schedule. And now they're about to be legally forced to breach their contract, which gives the exporter the legal standing to charge them a penalty for reneging on the deal.
Yep.
Which means the importer loses money twice because they have to pay a retainer to have a lawsuit, and they lose all their money because the exporter can say, wasn't our fault. Take it up with your dopey-headed fucking president. And they would win every time because they would be right. Shitty. Really shitty. So the rest of my weekend. I need to figure out what I want to film today because I owe the Penny Arcade audience a kicking it old school. But I don't know which one I'm going to do yet. Kind of a problem. I need to load 9mm to the tune of 3,000 rounds of brass that I've already pre-primed. I'm out of primers again. You know what? Just for you, HVS, I will sell 9mm to you at 1 Bitcoin per round. That's a good idea.
I like that. I saw that earlier.
I think he's doing it with 7.6239.
Or
5.45. Or 5.45.
Well, I've got plenty of 5.45 too, but yeah, that one's going to become exceedingly expensive to shoot now.
Yeah. Well, there's a guy that's selling a Corvette for 6 pieces of plywood at the Home Depot. Apparently that's still a problem. I didn't know. But yeah, my weekend is going to entail a little bit of filming, a lot of dog washing, because it's the only way I can defeat the fleas. I have to wash all my dogs like every 3 days
Can't you
because
just start throwing some flea bombs over your fence?
no, I thought about just cracking open canisters of DDT
There you go.
or Agent Orange because my
Napalm?
neighbors they're irresponsible. Plus, I can't stop the squirrels, I can't stop the possums. They bring it too, and they cross over the top of the fence every night. There's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, flea infestation. Like I was really wishing that hurricane would have hit us this weekend. I know it sounds
Yeah,
crazy.
instead we're getting it.
Well, no, you're getting Henry. I was talking about Grace. Grace was actually that's the first hurricane to hit that's the first hurricane targeted for your part of the country in 30 years. Like
I
it's a
know.
pretty rare event. So, if you're in the Northeast, you better have your bottled water now. You better have your toilet paper now. Canned foods now. MREs if you can get them now. Fuel for your generator now. Top off the tank in your cars now. Before
Buy
it's too late.
ammunition now.
Buy your comm block ammunition now before the 7th. And write your congressman about your displeasure of these new sanctions. Because in all honesty, Russia doesn't give a shit about sanctions. They're like, oh, you don't want to buy our ammo? Well, fuck you. We sell to Turkey. Oh, we sell to China. Oh, you know what?
Yep.
Better yet, we sell to Afghanistan.
Taliban.
Taliban loves 76239, right? So they
Yep.
don't care who loses in these sanctions. America loses.
do.
Who lost because of the election? America lost. When you go out today and you go fill your tank and you look at the pump and you look at the price when the auto thing shuts off and it's in triple digits, just remember to thank Uncle Joe. Thank him. Maybe yeah, just thank him. That's the best you can do. Anyway, it's about time for me to start playing this. Because we've reached the end of our time for the day. That's a psychology thing too. So anyway, I'd like to thank all of you guys out there for watching and all of my panelists for actually being here, which is only the 2 of you today. Real slow week. Also, if you're new to my channel, maybe hit the like button or subscribe and tell a friend that the show exists because not a lot of people know that I'm doing this still. So that way we get more viewers or more panelists, which brings more topics, which means I don't have to be so grumpy all the time. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see y'all next Saturday. Unless you're part of my server, email me at the address below and I'll send you an invite and you can join us at the lobby for working stiffs. Anyway, I think that's all I got for you today, so we'll see you later.